Just a short one, fellas. Late in the day, so I'm only 3 notches down in darkness, so therefore I've gone 4 right. Now we know that the light gets blue in the morning and more orangey red in the evening, so maybe that should suggest something I should change, either one up or one down, depending on that sort of idea or rule. Anyway, I've shifted all this section here back half a brick, as you can see. Half a brick, basically. It's all gone back half a brick. So that one's in line with that one, but I've left an overhang here, so this, if I put it on spot colour, you can see it can drip down there, so any nutrients in the water from the copper impregnated combo can go down here. Some of this cyanide down here, you can take it out of the solution if it wants to, react to it, form organics, whatever, then it goes into the soil in here, and hopefully will drain down to this one now, which is now half a bit further away. So it's going to take, maybe I'll have to double flush it or something to get twice as much water to actually get this as wet as it was, but it's still alive, and it looks like it might be making a move, but as I said, we won't be able to tell until about day 4. So as I said, this flashed blue between 18 and 36 hours. We're now at 48 hours. Another 12 hours has gone on, so we'll see how we go, but I'm still waiting on that big copper bucket. I should have put that one into that one, but anyway, at least we got a very quick test control to see yes or no. Is it going to kill the plant? We did get the blue flashing. So it does say that, it does imply that the copper did actually get into the plant for a certain amount of time. Whether it was blue because it was in the 2 form, it went in as green copper 1, but was converted to blue, and then somehow was converted back to copper 1. I don't know. Maybe it just got its fill. Finally copper, and then dumped the rest. I don't know. So it's gone through the whole plant. Every cell has been satisfied with its need for copper, and any excess now has been dumped back out as copper 1, because it's the soluble form, you see. So copper 2 is fairly insoluble. If you get it into like chalk or something like that, it will be quite sticky to the chalk. You can actually see it in the chalk. It's also sticky to phosphate and things like that. So you get blue phosphate. Hard to make phosphate green, but you can do it. If you had a certain amount of aluminium, you can keep it in a nice, that sort of jadey, limey green sort of colour, if you want to try that. But anyway, that's about it for now. I think there's nothing really much else to report. I'm just waiting on these other ones to fully flush, like the first chalk attempt. But as I said, if this is going to work, I'm going to have to do another run with the copper and chalk together, have another go. I think I can actually push right the way through and break both of them, both the calcifuge barrier and the copper barrier, of course. Because breaking the calcifuge barrier in a sand culture, then you can legitimately ask for the Rothamsted Prize, which has probably got up to about, it was £5 million sterling in the late 80s, which roughly equate then to the nearest 5 cent, because we just converted out, we just got rid of our 1 and 2 cent coins then, converted out to about $10 million Aussie, which is probably between 15 and 20, well, it's another 20 years has gone on, so it's probably up to the 20 million, but it's worth it, if you can actually break the calcifuge barrier. It means you can put things together in a pot, which normally wouldn't be able to exist in a pot. You can get at least 2 suites of organisms in there. It's like a Thor buffer system. You got your one buffer down the one end of the pH spectrum. You got one buffer down the other end of the pH spectrum. Each buffering zone has different microbial suites of organisms, and you can get those 2 microbial suites of organisms to exist in the same pot at one and the same time, in the pot at one and the same time, sort of thing. Which means then you have the possibility of having new symbiotic relationships between 2 groups of organisms. So you can form maybe a new form of lichen, a lichenized mycorrhizae sort of thing. So you've got things that love the acid region, you can form unions with things that like the alkaline region and form a symbiotic relation which is bigger or greater than the sum of its parts, basically. They can do things they couldn't do on their own, sort of thing. Well, that's the general idea. So that's what the Rothamsted Prize is really all about. It's really, if you can get to that point, the fruits of that point onwards is so great that that's why they put these great people from those years ago, 200 years ago, decided to put up this price thing. Well, I don't know if it's possible, but if anyone gets to that point where they can actually break the cash refuse barrier, it's going to open up so many new avenues of research in agricultural science that it's going to be worth it putting the money in the first place. Of course, back then it was only a small amount, but it's accrued over time. And as I said, by now in 2017, it's about probably $20 million Aussie. It's probably about £10 million sterling, or it's about 20 million Aussie. I mean, but then again, the person who actually does the work isn't really interested in the money. They're really interested in, is it possible? Can we do it? What will be the result of the fruits of these labours? Sort of thing, Can we get a blue fly trap? Can we blah, 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 so on and so forth? Can we grow them very quickly, very fast, very colourful, and do it all in a single season? Can we get multiplication? Can we take the copper idea and get a new form of tissue culture? Because, as you probably know, copper is usually the next one down if you disregard silver because it's so expensive, of course. Under mercury in tissue culture, if you'd like to take a small crystal of mercuric chloride and just drop it in a container, it just merrily goes, as it dissolves and spreads through the container, it just merrily goes about killing off all the microbes in there. There's very few that can tolerate that. And basically, it's a very cheap form of really autoclaving the whole pot without autoclaving, your container or whatever vessel without autoclaving, basically. Very cheap, very effective. Set and forget sort of thing. You just drop a single crystal and boom, it kills everything in the basically, because it's so toxic. Of course, it's environmentally unfriendly, of course. But the next one down from that, if you knock out silver, being too expensive there, is copper, of course, and that's why the Victorians used to have copper doorknobs, because they were very afraid in their time, because they didn't have antimicrobials, of spreading germs. And of course, when you touch the copper doorknob, it goes to work. And the idea of the copper doorknob, it just doesn't work instantaneously. It works over time. So it's like this idea. You've got a single cell. Once you've killed that single cell, it's dead. Extinction is forever. But if you've got a plant or animal tissue with millions or billions of cells, they can afford to lose a few cells in the expense to actually killing the microbes on the outside or internally attacking them or sitting there harbouring them silently, sort of thing, pirates of the cells or thing, like viruses and things like that. But slowly, over time, you can kill off those numbers of cells. And it's still killing off some plant cells, of course, but of course the plant is growing, and therefore we can replace those killed off cells. But the microbe, once it's dead, it's dead. So if it's a single cell organism or a few cells, once they're dead, once they've expired, extinction is forever. They're not coming back. So, learn something from the glid, the diva sort of thing, she has but a short life to live, and once she sets seed, she's gone. She's not coming back. Her daughter plants from the seeds, yes, they'll probably come back from over successive seasons, but basically once she's dead, she's dead. Extinction is forever, basically. So this is the idea. Can we take this, if we can actually get something where we have copper in there, can we transfer that to a tissue culture situation where we just take the lid off a jar, pop a piece of plant material in there, and the formula just both goes to work to kill the microbes. It may damage the plant slightly over time, but the plant is then growing and therefore replacing what's being damaged. But the microbes are slowly, the number of microbes are going down and down until you get to an extinction point. And the fact that these things are flashing blue means the copper is probably going into the plant, which means you're sending in that as an agent, a sentinel inside the plant. See, she's seeking out all those microbes that don't like the copper, going in there, around every single cell, maybe into the cell, slowly working over time, killing those microbes off. So the vigour of the plant may actually over time increase. So you put them into a jar, you just take the lid off, drop your piece of bling in there, slowly over time. It may damage the material at first, but slowly over time, you clean up the jar, you clean up the piece of tissue, and maybe then it will actually have more vigour. So when you actually take it out of the tissue culture jar and plant it in the soil, it may grow faster, bigger, more colourful, because it's not competing against anything. There's nothing sucking its life force out of it anymore. You killed it all off, slowly over time. Anyway, that's the idea. I don't know, but I think really that's what the Rothamsted Prize is all about. Can you get to that point? And what are the fruits of your labours after that point? can you transmit the idea around the world and just get far up, you know, hundreds of thousands of other scientists, each in their specific areas, to actually say, wow, that's fantastic. Now I understand, because that one person down there in the land down under has actually changed my life completely. Now I've got a completely new pathway to tackle in my respective field of science. You know, wow,